Here are the latest Garmin inReach subscription costs, including the hidden enabled plan. Now, everyone's usage is different, so I made a calculator on my website. Just search for Hiking Guy Garmin inReach subscription, and you should find it. If you go there, you can enter how many messages, how much tracking, how many photo video messages if you have a Messenger Plus, and also how many check-ins you do, and it will tell you what exactly that will cost on each plan that Garmin offers. Now, you can also go in and edit the charges, so if you live in a different region, you want to do it in your own currency, you can enter that there and modify it. Now, I'll give you my tips from my experience on what makes sense. I think for most people, also share with you some other options like renting an inReach, using a third-party plan, and also talk a little bit about Garmin SOS insurance. See, because if you look at the Garmin pricing chart here, there's charges for different things. SOS response coordination is included in that, but not necessarily the cost of your SOS if you get charged for it. Also worth noting on this chart, which is also on my website, you pay an activation fee of about $40, and then you can switch between plans at any time. You don't have to keep paying an activation fee. You can only have one device active on a plan at a time, even though you can have multiple devices with your consumer account. If you want to have multiple inReaches on one account, you can get a professional plan. I'll show you that in this video as well. I think when you first sign up, the Essential plan is the most attractive. It's the least expensive. It gives you SOS, and it gives you a bundle of messages. Now, in my experience and, friends and colleagues who I've been hiking with, none of us really send, I think, 50 messages in a month. Maybe you're somebody who likes to message back and forth, and this is important, but generally you're going hiking to get away from messaging back and forth, right? So if you figure it out, you just do the math, you get a little bit over 12 messages a week in a week of hiking. Now, I'll probably send over the years, maybe 3 or 4 messages typically in a month. And it's only if I'm like running late or just a little back and forth with my wife in case there's a change of plans. Once in a blue moon, there will be many more messages, like dealing with some kind of a family situation where we have to text back and forth. But overall, 50 is a lot and should be fine on this plan. The downside of this plan is you have to pay for the location tracking. And location tracking is when your Garmin device sends your location at an interval to the satellite and then to your map share, to your web page where people can follow along. And for me, this is a very important feature because if you're out hiking or out in the outdoors and something catastrophic happens, you have a heart attack, you have a stroke, you're hiking and somebody, above you on a switchback knocks a rock off and knocks you unconscious, then you can't hit the SOS button. Then it's important that you share this map share page, be sharing your location so that others can follow the breadcrumb trail and find you. I use the 10-minute interval, and that's what the tool that I made is set up to track your charges for, but this doesn't include any of them. That said, it's 10 cents, if you do 10-minute intervals, they cost 10 cents each here in the States, pay 60 cents an hour, which is not really bad if you hike occasionally. So $6 for maybe a long 10-hour day. If you're only going out into the backcountry once in a while, maybe it's worth just paying the extra. But again, put your own usage into that calculator and check it out. Also note that check-ins are unlimited. You can send as many check-ins as you want. If you have an older inReach account, you can modify them. If you have a newer inReach account, you cannot modify those, but those are handy too, just to say, hey, I'm okay. But they're unlimited with everything except for the enabled plan, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, the standard plan is the one I generally use when I'm hiking a lot because I have unlimited track points. A lot of inReaches will allow you just to turn tracking on automatically whenever you turn the device on, which is handy because then it's just always on. You turn it on to use it, that tracking is on. You don't have to worry about paying for anything. Includes a lot more messages. So again, if maybe you're somebody who messages all the time, this might make sense. I see the standard plan working well for, people like me who are hiking all the time, like maybe in the summer, and also for thru hikers who want to be able to message back and forth with their family, but also just want to have that tracking on all the time so friends and family can follow along. Premium plan probably sounds like a lot, but maybe if you're living off the grid or if you're like a blue water sailor, being able just to send unlimited messages and unlimited track points and now at 2-minute intervals might make sense for you. For an average hiker, I don't think this is a thing unless you need to really be in contact and be sending messages back and forth. Kind of defeats the purpose of being out in the outdoors for me, but I'm sure people will need this, but that's out there too. Also want to mention photo and voice note messages. Those work with the Messenger Plus, probably newer inReaches that come out. you pay extra for those. Those messages don't count the same as a regular text message, and they have a separate pricing structure as well. And again, I included that in the tool on the website if you're going to be using those too. The enabled plan isn't publicized widely by Garmin. If you go to sign up for a new account, right now it's not one of the options. So you have to sign up for a regular account, and then once you sign up for a regular, standard, essential, or premium account, you go to manage your account and you change it to enabled. It's a real thing. There's a Garmin support page on it, but it's interesting. It's the least expensive subscription, and it allows you to use your SOS on your device as part of that. So if you are just, going out and want that SOS coverage and you're not doing anything else, this is a decent option. It comes in at under $100 US for the year. And if you do want to use the extra features, maybe you don't use them a lot, but once in a while, you can pay for them all. You pay for check-ins, you pay for messages, you pay for, weather. Weather's a message too. I didn't mention that earlier, but weather counts as a message. And you pay for location tracking. So even with some ad hoc usage, the enabled plan might still be cheaper than the essential plan for you. Also worth noting, you don't need to be out doing something rugged like hiking or hunting in the backcountry to hit the SOS. If you look at Garmin's inReach data, people are hitting the SOS button when they have vehicle trouble. So if you're out driving, you don't have cell phone range, you can hit the SOS and get help with your vehicle. So that, enabled plan cost might make sense just to keep this with you in your everyday carry. Have it in the car. Something happens, you don't have cell phone, you have a lifeline to get some help. If you don't like any of those plans, check out Protegear. It is a German company, and they basically are a reseller of Garmin inReach bandwidth. So it's authorized by Garmin, it's approved, it's not anything shady. And what they're doing is they're buying like a big chunk of usage and then repackaging it and selling it to you. And the way that they offer it to you is there is a 49 euro fee for the year and a 10 euro fee minimum. And then you just turn it on or off when you want to use it. And you can turn it on for intervals as short as a day, or you can get a monthly plan. But this is really handy if you just want to pay for a day or two here or there. A neat feature they have too is if you use it for multiple days and it goes, over or bleeds into what it would cost for a week, which is cheaper, they'll automatically give you the less expensive weekly price or monthly price. So really user-friendly there. They also offer some features like global mail, where you get a dedicated email address. You can text with your inReach to ChatGPT and Wikipedia if you want to find something out. You can even change the text of your check-in messages. So overall, I think this is a great buy for infrequent users. I think it's a little bit clunkier in terms of the control panel and setting it up. Once you get it, you know it. It's not quite as user-friendly as the Garmin one, which, I think if you go to the Explore website, it's probably not so user-friendly, but the Messenger app's a little bit more user-friendly for setup. But that's Protegear. There's also a version of this in Australia, New Zealand, and you can get it in North America as well, called TrackMeNZ. Another company who buys time on inReach and they repackage it. And with them, you can get other things like a dedicated phone number for your device, just like a Zoleo has. So you have some options. I'll put links to these along with the pricing table and analysis in that subscription article on my website as well. The other option is rentals, and I just do a Google search for Garmin inReach rentals, and you will find options there. This is great if you don't want to pay for a unit yourself. I looked around at some of them. I haven't used any of these, but the average prices look to be between $10 and $15 a day with some data included. It depends on where you live, where you get it, but some of them have a service where they will send it to you. You set it up a little bit, take it out, and then you send it back. Local outfitters can rent them. So if you're going somewhere to do a trip, maybe a national park, just check for inReach rentals at that national park. Maybe you'll be able to do it. I think that's a great option if you only hike infrequently and don't want to spend a couple $100 on a device yourself. There's also something called Garmin inReach Professional, which I think is going to be overkill for most people, but it allows you to have multiple Garmin inReach units on one account. Great for organizations, right? Could be good for family. If you have multiple people in your family, you want to keep multiple options open. In general, the plans cost about $5 more than the consumer plans. And if you want to suspend a device, so just turn it off and have it on your account still, ready to fire up whenever, that will cost you $5 a month as well. Earlier, I mentioned SOS costs, and I've seen a lot of confusion over the years. When you're paying for SOS on a Garmin inReach, you're paying for a team to be on the other end of the SOS button called Garmin Response to be there 24/7. Now, Garmin Response takes your information and then passes it on to a local first responder who can go and help rescue you or help you out in some way. If there's a cost involved with that, Garmin is not paying for that as part of your Garmin subscription. You're just paying for that team to be there 24/7. The most rescues are free, but that's not always the case, even in a place where it's normally free. Let's just say you're critically hurt and they're going to say, send in an air ambulance that has, medical personnel and specialized medical equipment on there, get them right to the hospital. That could be like $50,000 or $60,000. And your regular Garmin inReach subscription is not going to pay for that. So what I recommend doing is getting some supplemental coverage just in case something like that happens. Now, Garmin sells something called SAR 100. It's only for people in Canada and the United States right now. It works worldwide, but you can only buy it in those countries. And it's an insurance policy. So if you do get charged, you file an insurance claim with them. It's affordable, but the prices go up if you're doing something they consider high risk, like mountain climbing or mountaineering. It goes up even more if you're doing something at high altitude. What I do instead is I use Overwatch and Rescue. It's an SOS subscription service, so think like roadside assistance or AAA for the outdoors. You buy a policy, you can register it with up to 3 devices, including all the inReach devices, things like the satellite-enabled iPhones, and you'll have coverage on all of those. And you really just send a quick text message to them. The other end of that process is Overwatch and Rescue's response center, which is manned by people who worked in emergency services, so ex-EMTs, military, law enforcement, paramedics, people who can understand this type of situation. And they will, get your information like Garmin does. They will hand it off to the appropriate first responder, and they'll also stay on for the whole process of your rescue to advocate on your behalf. So, it offers you a little bit more comprehensive, and it's $80. There's no restrictions on altitude or high risk sports or anything like that. And you also get coverage for things like if you're overseas and there's a civil unrest or a weather emergency, they'll fly you back. And they even do small things like, pick up your car from the trailhead if you get evacuated, or, fly a family member overseas if you are hurt and, in a hospital somewhere overseas. So a little bit more comprehensive. That's what I use. But regardless of what you do, I'd recommend getting some kind of coverage there just in case. Pay $80 now instead of paying $60,000 in case something happens that's totally out of your control. All right, guys. That's it. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any stories of your own about, paying for rescues or whatever it might be, leave them below. I'm sure it'll help other people understand the costs involved. And stay safe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you out on the trails.